Hello again, welcome back. Asif was bored. I have a feeling that he was bored.
He was waiting for the classes to start.
I think so.
Everyone is there.
He's in the realm of figuring out his own research topics, so it's kind of different than everybody else.
It's hard.
He's on TA-ship.
It's tougher, right?
It can be. Orhood and I are coming up with a project for him together. Yeah.
I just,
One
okay.
second.
Remote sensing or
A little bit of a remote sensing. Yeah, for mapping different things. I say different things, I mean like not your normal precision ag sort of stuff that comes out of RSL usually.
more urban related?
We don't really know yet. I have ideas for him that pertain to like my more like geologic, like
Oh, okay.
geomorph like interests. So I'm trying to bring my interests, working skills and Asif's ability to work for us all into a project. Matt, you hear me okay? Thank you. It's great to see students doing warm-up exercise before it's even signed. Also, I told you were bored.
By that definition, I have to.
Sure, go, everything's set up, it's supposed to be. Bring to the cloud. Are you in data management this semester?
Yeah, I think so.
I was just not hearing you speak.
That's different.
Fabio doesn't bite. You want the back row there. Might bore you to death with bison stuff, but
Never be bored with.
nice guy otherwise.
Bison's never boring.
Nah, bison are pretty cool.
I just noticed no one is sitting in the.
I know.
People are scared of you.
I've been sweating a lot lately. I probably stink.
That's a buffer.
What's a buffer?
Let's not get there.
Was too low and can't. I'm ordering you now. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so we figured out, you know what the problem is. And you're like, yeah, no problem. You have to send a window in which you can connect.
All right, 4:15. Let's get moving for today and the rest of the semester. You should be here for geospatial data management. What's up? There's another familiar face. Hi, Irina. Come on up front. I want somebody to sit up front here with me. So today, if you've been in class with me before, today is going to be our syllabus day, and we do a warm-up activity on the first day of class for me. So this is the week that we are getting you set up to be successful through the rest of the class. So handle all the tech installs that you need to do if you need to do any, and make sure you're ready to hit the ground running next week when we set foot in here. We're going to be in here. It says we're over in McDonnell Douglas. This classroom's better and it's available. So we'll be in here the rest of this semester. It should not change for any reason. We will be outside a couple weeks during this class. Woo, right? Once the weather's nicer.
Yeah.
But we'll still be meeting in here to touch base before we head out to do any field collection of anything. So today's agenda looks like this. A little bit of background about me. It's important for you to get to know me if you don't. I know most of you already, so it'll be fun today. We're still going to do a introduction round because it's important that we build a community in here so you can all help each other with your work. That just makes everybody's experience more concrete and lasting throughout time. Helps you learn stuff too. So I'll give you a syllabus walkthrough just real quick. Is this anybody's first class at St. Louis University? All right, cool. Well, then I'm going to breeze over a lot of the repetitive required statements in the syllabus so we can save time. Course technology, we're going to be using ArcPro in here and maybe some QGIS. People, I have heard from people that people have interest in learning open source GIS while they're in here. So I'm going to try and facilitate that this semester. I have no clue what that looks like so far. If we can switch any of the learning units over to open source, I will attempt to do that. Otherwise, we're going to be working with ArcPro, mostly within geodatabases, because that is the preferred method of handling data in the spatial world. There is the geodatabase equivalent in QGIS, which is what we would be learning in QGIS mostly. QGIS gives us some cool capabilities that we don't have access to with ArcGIS Pro. We'll do some student intros, and then our warm-up activity is on Canvas already. Some of you have already seen this. This is just to get you in the state of mind that we'll be entering for the rest of the semester as we work together on our journey of learning. Any questions about today from anyone? All right, cool. I don't really expect any questions this early on. This is old. I should have updated this. I didn't have time today. Like I said, too many people come and see me. I'm an assistant professor here at SLU. I'm in my third year being here. Pretty much anybody that has had me in class before knows that I teach a lot. I'm currently dealing with headaches of growing a new geospatial program here at SLU. So I typically get stretched pretty thin. Don't let that affect you all. I want you to all stay composed, but I typically bounce 50 different balls in the air at any one time. So my research, which occurs pretty slowly, Thus my teaching load here. I use students for my research entirely. My work is student-based, so any progress that I've made on this work typically has come from students over the last 3 years. I focus on processes on the Earth's surface, so I don't focus too much on the subsurface anymore. My background is in geology. I have a BS in geology, master's degree in geoenvironmental studies, and then a PhD in environmental conservation science. Hi, Victor.
Hi.
Outside of research work, and my professional life, I enjoy relaxing. Number one, relaxing and being able to relax is a disappearing skill for this generation of people. There's so much shit going on in our minds all the time. There's so much information out there. So I like to take my weekends away from responding to emails and getting outside and doing things that keep me going during the week. So this leads me to hike, camp. I play hockey from time to time. I go for a run here and there. I've been doing terrible with this lately. Play some disc golf. So if you want to get out and play around disc golf, let me know. I'm happy to play with students. It's always fun. I have an interest in sustainability. We're not talking about like sustainable growth or sustainable business or sustainable anything. I'm talking about like how we sustain a population of humans here on the face of the earth and what we actually need to do to make that happen. Not trying to sell you any products or any crap along the way, no mismarketing. And then my other passion is our animals. We have a bunch of animals at home. Biodiversity is super important to our existence here on Earth. So a lot of my projects wind up focusing on things that benefit humans indirectly, things that people might not think about every day. Any questions about me? Either professionally or as a person? Yep.
I don't know if I've asked this before, but if you're the assistant professor, then who's the professor?
That would be
Okay.
Wassett. He's
Okay.
full professor.
Okay, it just seems like you're.
So if you all might not be privy to the different titles that academics live by. Me as an assistant professor, I'm non-tenure track, which means I'm on probation for the first 3 years that I start here. So I'm up for my review, my 3-year review. I could not be back next year, which is great to know, right? But so if we take one step up from me, that would be tenure track assistant professor. After that would be associate professor. And then after that, you become full professor. So when you see those titles attached to people, that's usually just an inkling of how long they've been in academia. Yeah. Any other questions? That's a good one.
Are you gonna get more teaching help with the Taylor grant thing?
Not yet. I've actually got my first round of help right here in a classroom for us, and it's been working awesome. That's awesome is like the only reason I was able to exist last semester, teaching 5 classes. So help is on the way, apparently, just happening slowly. All right, if there aren't any other questions, I've got some details about some of the research that I've been working on. Part of my work is tracking river ice dynamics or the movement of river ice. This can also be related to other floating debris types, i.e. plastic, because plastic is terrible and will be around for probably millions of years. Never going to go away. We'll be integrated into the geologic record of Earth because of our trash. Because we just pile it up and leave it. So my river ice work mainly pertains to quantifying where and with how much force floating objects are impacting riverbanks. The idea behind this is the force of a flowing object crashing into the riverbank can cause erosion. And we know erosion occurs very well. We have models and methods for estimating erosion with flowing water, but those don't exist for debris. When there's debris scouring, that doesn't fit into the normal sediment transportation and mobilization modeling methods that we use. So my first part of the work is to determine, is this a significant factor in erosion? We know that rivers erode most when there is flowing ice in them at the transition of winter to spring. This is when most erosion occurs globally. But is it significant? What makes it the most erosive part of the year for a river? Is it the fact that there is ice? Or is it the fact that there's a flood at the same time? Or is it a little bit of both? So that's the angle for this research. Me having a geology background, when I think of like time periods, I'm not typically thinking of like a growing season for a plant. I think over longer time periods. So part of my work studies landscape evolution and the effects on channel paths that landscape evolution has. So when there are multiple tectonic forces acting on a plot of land, if there are climate shifts, how do those factors impact where channels are located within a river basin? So that's part of this research. These are animatable. So this study, I'm looking at the effect of topographic roughness on channel location. So I put a digital elevation model in my landscape evolution modeling software. This is the normal elevation model. This is a smooth elevation model. So from these, you can tell, oh, click on the wrong place. So this gives you estimations of the timing and location, length of channel shifts. And this is an example with a smooth topography. So everything's similar except the topographic input. A part of work, this actually mapping the global distribution of meander cutoffs. This is something I've wanted to do for the last 7 years of my life. I centered the first paper of my PhD around this. This is currently expanding. Mapping the global distribution of meander cutoffs is something we probably can't do yet. The technology just is not up to par for doing this. So it's my goal with part of my career is to try and do this. Because if we do this, that would probably lead to a paper in like Nature or Science would be the level of publication we'd be talking. This uses machine learning, AI. So we train models of what a meander cutoff looks like in different types of data. So fashionably late, like always, huh? Fashionably late, huh? Come on in, man. There's seats up here. Watched it this weekend, good game. I have possible work for students in any of these. I also oversee some of our Missouri View work. Missouri View is a branch of America View. America View is a nonprofit that helps the USGS train and recognize what we can do with remote sensing data. Helps the general public understand it essentially. And if anybody has any interest in levees or flooding, projects typically fit really well under this hat. This project I have going on is looking at the evolution of an evolving meander neck on the Mississippi River down south. It's pretty important. This is near Cairo, Illinois, if anybody has been down that way, just south of Cape Girardeau. But this is going to be a national security issue in the future. As this meander chute evolves, how is it going to affect the current shipping route? The shipping route that they want to go, that they currently go, is around the bend. But there's going to be a channel here. And once a meander chute like that forms, deposition is going to increase in the non-active channel. So they're going to be faced with a decision here in the future. Do they want to try and maintain that old channel? Or do they need to find a different way? They need to build another lock or something like that. So a little just imagery example over here of the meander cutoff mapping work. This is one river. Typically, a lot of my work focuses up on a specific river basin. up in Minnesota and North Dakota called the Red River Basin. Very interesting river basin, because it's younger than pretty much any other river basin on Earth. And it is super flat, it flows north, and its elevations are changing. So the slope of the river is changing every time. Avi's nodding his head. Avi was up in Fargo when I was there, right? Yeah. We just didn't know each other. So, all right, I'm gonna transition now over to the syllabus. We'll do the syllabus run through real quick. We'll check out Canvas. And then we will transition over to more course intro stuff and student introductions. So you can pull up the syllabus so we can all follow along. Should be pretty straightforward for everybody at this point in your academic careers. So here we are. Meeting time is here. You all made it here today, so I will trust that you continue making it here the rest of the semester. I've helped a couple people with over enrollment permissions. I know we have a couple people attending online, so we should have a full classroom just about every night. We have one chair left over right now, so right where we need to be. So we'll be in here. My email is here for you. You'll be getting emails, messages from me. Don't message me on Canvas. I will not look at those messages. Not that I'm not saying like I will not look at your messages. I just don't. People have enough ways to contact me. I don't need to keep monitoring another one. That's why I don't like Slack or that sort of crap. If you all want a Slack group for your use amongst the students here, I'm more than happy to facilitate that and set that up for you. I just will not be participating whatsoever. So if you're like sitting in class here and you think, oh, like that would be helpful, please feel free to recommend it to me. I will gladly open one up. Everybody's here, so you should have all taken another GIS class, right? Is this anybody's first GIS class in here? That's no. You were in my classes last semester. You're good. So I ask because we will need ARC Pro user accounts set up. So everybody have our GIS like online accounts. Sweet. If you don't, email me. I can get you set up so you're ready to go. We do have a virtual classroom. I'm mostly using this as recording methods for our in-person classes anymore. I have a couple students who they started during the pandemic who are across the state and cannot get here. You all, I expect you to be in the classroom. I want you in the classroom. You cannot get the same learning experience when you're at home on Zoom. It's very simple. So don't miss classes, be here. Course description. So we're gonna learn how to design and implement spatial databases in here. So we're gonna start at square one, which is the brainstorming process. Over pretty much the first half of class, we're gonna have a lot of theoretical exercises where you are doing the planning for a database. So you're gonna be thinking about the data products that are going to be held, what goals those data products are going to fulfill, and who you're going to be marketing those products toward. So not only are you going to get some experience in managing data, you're also going to get some project management experience in here too, because data management and project management, they fit right together. So designing, implementing spatial databases, topology. So topologies are, they're like spatial rules that we have to abide by when we're entering data in a database. We'll learn about different spatial data models. We'll talk and cover SQL, spatial query languages. We'll talk about relational databases and their architecture, data storage, indexing, SQL double up on that, and data mining. So a lot of different skills on acquiring and organizing and presenting data and data products to people and stakeholders. I say people because people is the public, stakeholders are the people who you're going to be working with, who are going to be demanding things of you. So data management skills, you'll learn things about, you'll learn how to set up relational databases. We'll talk some about servers. We live in a weird world here on campus behind firewalls. So it's impossible to set up any sort of enterprise system with our Arc Pro. And that actually requires a complete different license, Enterprise GIS does. So that's why I'm bringing Q into this. I'm hoping we can do some of the enterprising with QGIS. We'll talk very little about open geospatial consortium standards. We will do web apps, program interfaces, that sort of thing. We will touch just a little bit on security and risk management. Oh, and I'm gonna shift this. Swear the room is temperature increases like 15 degrees over class. People and computers breathing.
Open like the window over there.
I'll tough it out. Thanks for your consideration though. I don't sweat enough at home.
What's the temperature?
Haven't been exercising recently. It's been terrible. So learning objectives and outcomes for the course listed there. Be able to design, deploy spatial database, including any data modeling. So we can tuck tools and models into our databases and create workflows that use those. We'll get into this just a bit. That's the realm that falls under, and workflow design, of course. So you'll become familiar with some intermediate advanced tools and methods that provides foundation for spatial analytics, data informed results, and data interoperability. What's interoperability? I hear people mumbling, I think.
Multiple commands and, you know.
Multiple commands.
Multiple, like it can be,
What's ability?
I guess, something that's done, or the things, the features or skills that can be done by a thing, or like a robot, or.
I'm trying to get you to break the word down. Inter, between, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
ability, and then operability. You know,
Opera.
operate,
What's opera?
singing, but
Ability to
assuming
work,
it's,
right?
operate.
Yeah, so interoperability is, I mean, that's where we're talking about data conversions between data types. So what format do our data need to be in to be read into a certain Python library or into ArcGIS Pro versus QGIS? So we'll learn some of that too. Huge part of that is actually right at the beginning of the semester, just converting files into the right type when you get your hands on them. Required materials there, Arc Pro, QGIS. I don't even think, is QGIS on these computers in here yet? All right, I'll put in an IT request to get that installed, because we won't get to that for the first couple of weeks. We're starting out with what is common to everybody right now, which is probably Arc Pro for everyone. Text, I don't have a required textbook. Any readings that we have, I will supply you via Canvas. So no materials are necessary for purchasing. Grading breakdown there. Lab exercises, we're gonna have 5 labs, 3 points each, 15% of your overall grade. Assignments, we're gonna do 7 assignments, 5% each, weight a little higher, so makes up 35% of your grade. 2 quizzes at 10% each, so 20. Final project will also be 20. And then you showing up to class every week is going to amount to 10% of your grade. So if you don't come to class, you automatically start with a B. There's a topical outline here. We will be following this pretty closely. If everything goes well, we'll see if we miss any days because of snow. I know it didn't take us long last year to get knocked out of alignment with everything that was going on. So we will stick to this as best we can. Couple things to keep mind of. We will have spring break, Easter break this semester. Easter break will affect us, spring break will affect us. You're gonna get a couple days off. Final projects and grad student requirements. Rather than having a final exam, we have final projects in here. I like to try and wrap everything up prior to exam week. I know people are traveling and have other things going on exam week, so we like to be done beforehand. This also gives you a time to relax when you should be relaxing. I'm trying to instill the understanding in people of when certain behaviors are appropriate. I had a group of like middle school and high school students this summer for a week. It was, well, 2 weeks, I guess. Dreadful 2 weeks for me. I don't like that age of kids. They are of the understanding that, well, I mean, their parents don't let them play video games at home. Isn't that the right place to play video games? Because every single damn student in the class was playing video games in here. You should not be playing video games in public. You should be doing that at home. Well, I don't know what people are doing parenting wise these days, but that seems basic to me. So there's a right time to do things and there's a wrong time to do things. If you're relaxing like 4 o'clock on a Monday, you probably shouldn't be relaxing. Try it here. So in this class, it's dual listed, no secret. Who are our undergrads in here? Cool. I think we have 7 total, I saw. That makes everybody else graduate students. Graduate students, you have exceeded, well, you have higher requirements than your undergraduate students do. That's no secret. What that means is during our final projects, you are responsible for an extra science communication requirement in which you will be presenting your work to our class in here. Our class will behave as the stakeholders, giving you feedback on what you're presenting and asking questions to try and poke holes in the database that you literally just got done setting up. I know, it's funny. The first step, after you're done designing a database, what do you think the first step is? After implementation of said database and it's out open to the world, what's the first step? What was that? Feedback, revisions. Feedback and revisions, step number 1. So, I mean, when you release version 1 of said any software, there's always a version 2, right? Yeah, it's no different in the database world, data management world. So any questions in terms of that right now? That's way off in the future, so there will be plenty of time for you to understand requirements and ask further questions. Due dates, late work, due dates are beginning of class, Mondays. So I am setting the deadline Monday, 4 p.m. for everything. That'll give you 15 minutes to take a pee and drink some water and get in here and sit down. My late work policy. You have 3 days after the due date to get your stuff in. If it is not in 3 days after that, I am not accepting it. There will be no late work turned in more than 3 days late this semester. So that means you have to have your stuff together, ready to submit when it is due. I'm taking 10% off for each day. So if you don't turn it in the first day, you're starting out with a B. Or I guess that's 90%, but you'll probably have a slight deduction at least. So I'm just saying B. I cannot be chasing you around to turn your stuff in. I will not do that. It is not fair for me. It's not fair for other students either. I have 68 students this semester. So, like I said, for every assignment that I give, I have to expect to grade a lot of work. So, make sure your work is in on time, and make sure it's done well too. Nice work is very easy to grade. Bad work is just terrible. I want to rip my hair out. How about you, Austin? Just a little note, I will stop after Title IX here. Academic integrity, don't cheat. They recently revised the methods of me sending you through the ringer, so it's much easier. If anybody violates academic integrity, I have no problem getting you in trouble for cheating. It's part of what I do. So don't cheat. Everybody hear about that new ChatGPT that, academics are freaking out about that. You know what I say? Why don't we just have you write papers by hand? What happened to that? I know when I was in my master's degree, I actually had a couple projects that were handwritten papers. And like, you could not type them. I think we'll probably go back to a lot of that in the academic world now that technology is catching up to our grading methods. It is interesting though. I've been seeing a lot of like AI produced websites lately too. It's kind of hard to pick them out, but like the language is never perfect. And you'll just be reading something and it's like, what? Like that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So don't cheat. You can try and cheat. I'll catch you. I know how to do it. You don't. Title IX, treat people with respect the way you want to be treated. I'm trained on Title IX too. And I know exactly who to go to if we have any problems. And I mean, if you have a Title IX thing that's big enough an issue, I'll make sure we never see you around here again. You don't deserve to be here if you're making Title IX and causing problems with Title IX. Just to breeze over the rest of this, we have a lot of great resources across campus for making your student lives more successful and easy on you. This has greatly improved the last couple of years. It's one of the things that has been a point of focus across campus and administration is improving our services for students. So I know I know we might have people who need disability accommodations, please feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to accommodate. If you need help with anything, reach out, man. Everybody needs help with something. The ability to ask for help will only make things easier on you as a person and a student. I was never good at asking for help when I was in your position. And not that it didn't work out okay, but life could have been a lot easier, a lot less headaches, had like people known what was going on in my mind. So if you're having trouble with anything, open your mouth and say something. So like, it's my job here in the classroom to help you. So I can't help you unless I know you need help. Any questions over syllabus items? I'm not even gonna mention this part of the syllabus here. We're not going back to masking. There's no way, not in America. Any questions about syllabus items? Yes, sir.
Do you have office hours?
I do have office hours. I failed to mention that. It is on there though, 12 to 2 on Mondays. If that doesn't work for anybody, feel free to email me and set up a meeting outside of those hours. I do indeed have time outside of those hours. No other questions? We're going to transition back over to our slides here. So just to kind of reiterate, you know what? I'm going to use this as my Canvas prompt, this first bullet point here. Who hasn't had a class with me so far? I see a couple faces that I have not experienced before. Have you had a class with me?
It was asynchronous.
Okay, all right. Well, then you will understand my Canvas organization scheme probably. On these classes, wait, there we go. So on these classes that we meet once a week, we live our lives week to week. So I post things on campus organized by the week. So we're in week 1 this week. We have a week 1 module. Next week, we'll be in week 2 module. You all understand this quite well by now because you've all had class with me, aside from one person apparently. So we got our task document. Everybody's familiar with the task document. Just lists your specific requirements for the week. I like to think that if you complete these requirements you'll be, this is wrong, this should say the 30th. You should be performing well in class, learn everything that I expect you to learn, and you should come out happy with your grade. If you're skipping items on here, cutting corners, you're probably not going to understand much about what's going on because everything is intertwined in our world. And you might come out of the semester feeling unfulfilled and like you didn't really learn much. It's not always my fault. Other items, get your software set up. And we've got some reading. There's a open textbook that I'm going to be having you focus on these first couple weeks. It starts us out at a good level for what we're going to be doing in this class. If you need any sort of refresher on any old GIS or geospatial concepts, this will also serve as that. So pay attention to the tasks document each week. Regardless of whether I get the due date right or not, work is always going to be due the following Monday, unless I note any different. So I've got our PowerPoint there. You've all been seeing that from me. And then I've got our warm up. And I've got a link to our reading. So your responsibilities once we get out of here today, going to be this and this. And if you do those two things, you'll be ready to go next week. At least in terms of your grade, and we'll have a discussion to start next week. When I require reading, we will usually begin the next class by discussing the reading. That will either be us vocally discussing, or you will be required to do a discussion prompt on Canvas, and we will come in and talk about people's responses. Any questions about Canvas items? So I'll announce things through Canvas. Things like this. If we have a snow day, I'll cancel class through Canvas. If we have a snow day, we will not have class. But anything that I need to announce to people will be announced here. So keep your eyes peeled. Is that a common saying for everybody? Your eyes peeled? I don't know what it actually means. My parents just used it a lot when I was growing up. Like you're peeling your eyelids back off your eyes so you can actually see what's going on. Also makes me think of like peeling your eyeball like an orange, which is kind of weird. Discussions are held here. So here's your first discussion. You'll have, I don't know if everybody has access to the week 2 discussion. The ones that are wrapped up in other learning modules are typically not opened. I can also unpublish these too, so I have that. Grades will be held on here for you all. Files will be shared through either a link to a Google Drive or directly through Canvas. Canvas has a pretty small data quota for a single class, so it doesn't really help us in the geospatial world because we handle big data sets. Any quizzes that we have will be through here. Any questions about Canvas before we head back to slides? Cool, I wasn't expecting any. As I mentioned, I'll be sharing any data that's too big for Canvas through Drive. Self-explanatory. I'll give you a link and you can click on it and go and download. Softwares are there. We're not going to be using ARC catalog. I might show you ARC catalog so you understand what it is and what the equivalent is in ArcGIS Pro. ARC catalog. Anybody hear of ARC catalog before? Yeah, so ARC catalog is part of the old ARC desktop suite. Say old because Esri is planning to phase out ARC desktop eventually. They don't know when. The federal government still uses ARC desktop, which is where like ARC map comes from, if anybody's worked in ARC map. And they're typically really slow to transition out of any sort of technology. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. All right, so let's pause for some student intros. Matt, you're our one person on Zoom, so would you like to, or wait, nope, Matt, oh, I have two Matts on Zoom. Matt Davis, are you alive? Is your back feeling okay?
I'm surviving. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yep.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not there
Are you
today.
in any sort of shape to introduce yourself to everyone?
Certainly. So my name is Matt Davis. I can't see everybody in the class, but I probably had class with you last semester. Level of GIS, geospatial experience, 9 credits into the program, and also helping from a work perspective on TGI, so learning more that way. I don't have a particular area of focus within geospatial right now. If you ask me to make a map, what would I make a map of and why? My interest areas have been around like rooftop solar and renewable energy lately, so I would probably make a map related to that.
All right, sweet.
Thanks.
Matt works in the OBPR office, the provost office, so he's got a lot of responsibilities here on campus, and you might know him from that role too. Next up, Matt Arndt.
Yeah, I'm Matt Arndt. I'm the one that's across the state. I'm over in Cameron, about an hour north of Kansas City. I'm a forestry consultant full-time in my last semester of a master's before I move on to the PhD. I use GIS extensively for work, exclusively QGIS, so I'm looking forward to that actually being included in the semester. Primarily mapping and more basic spatial analyses. I don't frequently get into big data, more localized information. And if I were to make a map, it would just depend on the day. I frequently go off on odd tangents, get different requests. And yeah, it really could be anything.
Cool, sounds good. Be good to have you in class again. All right, moving here into the classroom, we're gonna do the snake pattern. Front to back, and we're gonna start right here.
Okay.
What's your name?
I'm Rita. My level of GIS is just intro so far. What area of focus?
Intro, what does that mean? How many classes have you taken?
One.
One class, okay.
Oh, okay, if I were to make a map,
What's your area of focus? What you been doing with your one class of GIS?
also, mapping urban orchards and bee diversity within, well, like for last class, I did like impervious versus permeable surface in relation to all that, but, like for fun, just like off the top of my head, might be fun to like map all the breweries within St. Louis.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. Because I.
Yeah, maybe we can make some systematic like brewery crawl where you hit every one and then you like never see
Like a
anybody
ranking,
again.
yeah.
You're comatose. All right, thank you very much, Rena. Great mapping idea. Next up,
My name is Victor. I have taken one GIS class before, but I'm taking 2 this semester. If I would make a map, I'd probably make a map about weather and clouds because I'm a meteorology major and I love clouds.
I want to see some meteorologist tell me what percentage of time the clouds are disrupting our remote sensing satellites. Like, what is the percentage of time that St. Louis has clouds over top of it?
Be a good
I've
study.
never seen that. Never seen it. So like out of all,
That'd be pretty hard
out
to
of all the
tell.
multi-spectrum remote sensing data, how much is actually usable?
Because not all clouds are the same.
Right,
Sometimes
and I mean,
they're
they're not uniform in space and time, change all the time.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't get, did you say you make a map of clouds?
Yes.
Are
Clouds
they-
and weather.
Are they moving? How can you make a map of something constantly moving?
Well, at some point, the clouds, you like take a satellite just like takes a radar scan of the United States. So it'd be like, oh, the clouds over here and producing rain, or they're rotating. And so there's a couple things you could do. But yeah, they
You
are-
could do a cloud detection algorithm using
One
those
period of
satellites
time.
and then process that, because those are geostationary over the US and they're eastern, western seaboard, so.
but I would agree they're probably more useful in a time series.
Yeah, time will come into it for certain.
That's some
Time comes into everything. We talk about like space in here a lot. Space and time are like 2 fundamental concepts that are linked. And space expands over time, so like from a very like fundamental from the beginning of the Big Bang, space and time have been linked. That will continue to exist in here too. You're not getting away from dealing with time.
Ideally, we just have tools that see through clouds, but
We do. We have, I mean, we have radar frequencies that indeed do see through clouds, but in your neck of the woods, you want to see
I want to see
clouds.
clouds.
Yep. Next up,
My name's Jacob. This is my second semester in the GIS undergrad major.
the geoinformatics undergrad
Oh, I'm
major.
sorry.
Don't sell me short there, buddy.
Whenever I try to say the full name to my friends, they just.
They won't understand. No,
Um,
these
don't-
aren't your friends in here, Jacob.
I don't have a particular area of focus at the moment, but if I were to make a map right now, I guess it would be relating to like socioeconomics factors within the St. Louis region. I'm from here, and equality within the region is something I really care about.
Excellent to know. I mean, I have a big problem with that. Cool, thank you. Good to see you again.
You too.
Next up,
My name is Francis O'Carl. I'm taking about 2-3 GIS class,
something like that.
something like that, 2. Right?
I don't know, man. I'm not
Yeah,
keeping
my-
track
my
of your.
bad. 2, yeah, if I was gonna make a map, probably.
I'd make a map of your shooting percentage from the floor.
Yeah, yeah, probably something like that.
He plays on the basketball team, so if you catch a SLU basketball game,
Yeah, pull up.
see him out there. And I've had some really cool like athletic, like geospatial projects, like people turn in, I had a, Gabby's not in here, but Gabby Kowalczyk did she did this class last year and she made a, like a spray chart in baseball. It's essentially a heat map of where you're hitting for her, a softball. So she compiled stats from like throughout her multiple years on the softball team, digitized the baseball field and plotted her spray chart is the technical term for it.
You could make a map of where you should.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure, dude, there's a camera watching you as you move around on the floor out there. We could train we could train a machine learning model to learn your number and track all the players and whether or not you miss a shot.
We do have that.
Yeah. You got the data?
We do have that.
Yeah, dude, you should totally use those data this semester. That'd be sweet. I wanted to do like I told you last semester, I used to be an athlete. Sports analytics is cool and also increasing in popularity these days. Something I've always kind of been interested in. Thank
Greg
you.
Bruner had showed a couple examples of exactly that, a shot chart for a few NBA players.
Yeah. I mean, there's and if you get into NBA stuff too, they track the same things.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll probably show off the graphics on every
We actually do
NBA
use that
broadcast.
for practice, but I never
Alright.
thought about it as GIS.
You could probably handle those work, and it's all GIS. Thank you. Good to see you again, man. Awesome.
Okay, so I'm Asif. I generally work with Dr. Phillips, as he has already mentioned. So from a professional perspective, I'd like to map any kind of thing, the challenge that comes to me. I just map them, no matter what. But if I say about my personal interest, so I am mostly interested about learning languages. So I'm very interested about languages. So I would map something like that, there is refugee crisis all over the world. People from Syria are coming to Sweden, Turkey, and a lot of other countries, to these countries as well. So it contributes to the variation in language. For example, maybe Arabic is spoken in some parts of the world where it was not used to be spoken. So I'd like to see the pattern of changing language and the impact of new language in that country. So maybe, I don't know.
No, I mean, exploratory things that the answer can be challenging to get at, that's right up my alley. I don't do typical research. If we know we can do the research easily and upfront, then what's the point in doing it? I do my research to create completely new lines of understanding for people. So I would be up for that. You ever think about the depletion of language,
Maybe.
especially with the digital revolution, how that affects
Yeah, and chat GPT.
and what?
Chat GPT.
Yes, yeah, and that's like partially where it comes from, but like, I mean, I was raised like, I mean. Really before computers were around, like in the academic world, and it was really important to like. To have a fine understanding of the English language, how it's structured and how to spell things correctly and structure a sentence correctly. That's just gone these days. I don't. Feel like when people are like writing things. Especially when you're like posting things online, there's no respect of the language at all, or like forming good sentences, spelling things correctly. Yeah,
Yeah, what if words disappear from like slang or something, you know? It's just like.
yeah, yeah.
We don't say cool anymore.
Well, there's shortened alternate spellings for everything these days that, I mean, people just trend towards posting that rather than actually spelling the entire word. Things I think about. Next up,
I'm Juan. I'm I'm in the second year of my master degree and I study plants with drones, basically. I come from a plant genetic background and
you work for a company, right?
I work for a company.
Yeah, they sent them here to get a degree.
Yeah. And what I would make a map of. So I work with more like micro, like I don't work in a large scale of studying of plants, but if I make a map, I'd probably make a unit map through a big location, like through a whole country and see how the environment affects yield of different plants, corn, soybean or whatever. And it'll be interesting to see.
What kind of sensor would you use? Trying to fly a drone over the whole country or?
No.
Gotta-
So I would go to one of the either Landsat or some. Yeah, I think
Planet.
planets go like more, is that planet?
Yeah, why not?
More precise.
Yeah.
Yeah, or also I wouldn't even have to.
You need a
use this.
super, like 12 supercomputers to process it, but
Yeah, or also I could use data points from like places where I have yield data and see how.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
changes throughout.
yeah, you wouldn't have to process the whole country.
Yeah, I
by
could
any
just,
means. Yep.
yeah, I would have to trust the data source, but
Yeah,
that'll be interesting.
cool. Thanks, Juan. Next up,
I'm Chagri. I'm a second year master student in geoscience, and I'm a surveying engineer. That's why maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
a surveying engineer.
Yeah, surveying.
Can you explain to everybody what a surveying engineer is?
Surveying engineer about measure.
Measuring what?
Yeah, measuring. everything.
Measuring what?
Measuring mean and use map device, for example, total station. For example, surveying engineer use drone. Surveying engineer use measurement device for everything.
But the surveying engineer
and-
uses a level of precision that other folks typically don't, right? Cause
Yes.
there's a reason you're using like a
Yes,
laser and not just like a photogrammetric model, right?
Yes, yeah, already my major name is geodesign photogrammetry engineering in Europe.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in United States, surveying and geomatical engineering.
So you are concerned with precise 3D location.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So what would you make a map of, Chadwick?
And I would like make historical artifacts map. And for example, where is the historical antique cans and people remove it, which artificial things. And now where is the display, which museum?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so tracking artifacts from their in situ location to where they
Yes,
are now.
Where's the original location, where is it now display and.
I bet you a lot of people would be
I'm-
angry about that because they're illegally acquiring said
Yeah.
artifacts. Yeah, I know that happens a lot, especially in the religious world. So, well, cool. Good to have you in class again, man. Next up,
Hi, I'm Yahya. I'm first year PhD student. I'm doing PhD in geoinformatics. And my background is in computer science. Now, I have been working with geospatial data for years now. And
how
I
many
would like,
years? 1 year, 2 year, 10 years?
Maybe 5 years.
Yeah, okay, pretty good. How old are you, Yahia?
I'm like 29.
Okay, all right, cool.
I would like to make a population map of St. Louis because I don't find people here. Normally, I'm habitual of like seeing people walking on the streets. So here, I couldn't find anyone.
People are hitting in their cars here. Austin and I were talking about this. St. Louis is a commuter city, so everybody's stuck in their cars and away from everything else. So I guess not to get like off track right off, but on that note, if you're looking for any sort of said like historic maps or like historic population information about the city of St. Louis, there is the St. Louis Public Library digital collections. And we have, I mean, these are scanned paper maps that have been, I mean, digitized into a digital format that we all could work with. So if you like are curious to get any old maps of Missouri, they have a link with cities, towns and whatnot. And of course, there's St. Louis on here and they got a bunch of different maps on here. Because I know I've definitely had interest from people in the past to like look back in time in St. Louis, and it can be hard to find digital information on that sort of thing. That's like part of the problem that we're currently dealing with is we want to be able to look into the past, but the maps aren't in the right format. So there was this whole movement probably like 10, 15 years ago in geospatial to start digitizing all these paper maps. They've been digitized in a lot of different ways. Most of them are just scanned on a big plotter and put into a digital file format. But like there's, I mean, workflows that we could use to sharpen the hell out of these images and extract some lines and points and polygons from them. So could be a neat angle for a project if anybody's looking for something to do in class, because I will be having you focus on a project throughout the semester. So that's just one of the resources that are available. Wanted you to be privy to it. Let me get my prompt back for you. Next.
My name is Kair Bonsasa. I'm in my second semester for the Geographic Information Science degree program. My area of focus within geospatial is geophysical sciences. So I am using ground penetrating radar technology to detect roots and their 3D dimensions by measuring the reflections in the microwave spectrum at a select frequency. I plan on using those returns to see if I can get the 3D structure and then estimate more implications like carbon content and so forth.
Cool. You've been working on that?
Yep.
Sounds good, man. Nice. Good to see you again, Kair. Nice to have you in class again. Next up.
My name is Natalie. I'm a PhD student in environmental geoscience. I've taken just a couple of GIS classes though. And I have a study watershed, the Deer Creek watershed, so that's what I would map.
Wait. Deer Creek watershed?
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
haven't met,
Have you
actually.
talked to her yet?
Yeah, no, she provided a lot of good materials like early on, like in the fall, that really helped me get started and all that.
Cool. I also, Matt, you messaged me about Deer Creek watershed, right?
Yeah, I followed up on tree planting methods.
Yeah, so he was, Matt being a forester, he was defending the planting methods that they use.
Wait, on the banks?
Yeah, yeah. That's totally standard as far as like.
Well, I'm not arguing that it's not standard. I'm just arguing that it's stupid.
Well, it's a lot cheaper and easier to produce those little stakes that they hammer in the ground than a full tree that you put in there.
Yeah, don't want to put too much effort into it.
No, I
Well,
don't-
it
well,
completely
I mean,
depends
it's
on,
a normal
completely
part for
depends
like
on the
trees to
tree
die and fall into the river. So if that happens, it's not a big deal.
To just like clear cut a whole thing and just put a bunch of limestone
Totally
rocks or
normal.
concrete.
Totally normal. Welcome to St. Louis, man. We are the pinnacle of poor decision-making in terms of restoring water resources.
Oh, yeah. Deer Creek is.
Thank you. We will talk about this later, okay? Next up.
Well, I'm Vishal. I'm a MS in GIS major I don't know. Okay, sorry. I'm a GIS major master's student.
How far along?
First year, second semester. I completed like 3 courses. Congratulations to me for that. Anyway, so my areas of focus within geospatial has changed dramatically. Like I was mostly interested in the satellite imagery and finding answers to questions from those imagery, but now I'm working on mainly hyperspectral imaging of plant root systems for carbon accumulation detection and drought detection. So
are you gonna be using the bench scanner once it's all set up?
set up, yes, we are using it. We are running test scans.
Nice.
Yeah,
They promising so far?
it needed a lot of time.
Yeah, to understand them.
Yeah, and we don't have any real samples. We have been using Camilla's leaves.
Okay.
She has a lot of plants and we just take one leaf and scan. Yeah.
You need some roots?
I think we'll be getting some seeds this Friday.
Okay. You gotta start a little experimental growth
Yeah.
somewhere?
Yes.
Nice.
Mhm.
Excited to see some outcomes from that. And how it might pertain to Kair's work too.
I think Kyrie is more focused on the structure of the root rather than the chemical composition, which we are looking.
Yeah, are we like, I mean, he's handling the volume of the roots, you're handling the composition of the roots.
I understand, but our problem here would be we can only scan the roots once they're out of the soil. But then the structure is not there anymore. So
That's
yeah,
very good.
yes, yes.
Structure, volume,
Yes.
and your composition. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool stuff. Nice. Thank you, Vishal. Next up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aviskar Giri. I am a second year master's student planning to graduate this semester. And my thesis for my master's is I'm using human mobility data, location-based data of people moving in different places and seeing how I can use that data to analyze the impact the baseball games, specifically the Cardinals, is having in St. Louis City. Sounds a little long, but
I'm gonna ask you the question I always ask you. Have you ever been to a Cardinals game?
no, I'm not.
So
But
yeah, got any Cardinals fans in here? Okay.
so yeah, I have been working on that, and while doing that research, I've been intrigued by the flow maps, especially dynamic maps, not like a single image or something.
Yeah.
And to do that, you need I've learned that I need to learn a lot coding, especially JavaScript and stuff, which is if I'm able to learn that well, it's really nice and it produces a lot of cool looking maps. So
Be good to have you in class again, Avi. Yep. Next up, Mariah.
Hi, I'm Mariah. I am also a geoinformatics student. And I don't have an area of focus within geospatial, but I am interested in geospatial intelligence. And if I was to make a map right now, I would focus on some major body of water and the recession of the water from, I don't know, the last 50 years and see how much it's changed. and how-
Recession of water.
Yeah,
Why is the water receding?
reasons,
Reasons? Are the reasons bad word choice?
probably.
Well said. So changing water levels over time. Yep, cool. Next up.
I'm Shukriya. I have taken 3 years classes. And my area of focus is mainly agriculture. But if anyone
Supriya is a PhD student. She works in the remote sensing lab upstairs. Yep. Yada, yada. Sorry, continue.
So if I make a map, I would make a bright map.
All right, cool. Sounds great. Thank you, Supriya. Next up.
Kristen, 3 years into my PhD here, geoinformatics.
Work in the remote sensing lab upstairs. Not anymore? Freedom.
For GDR.
Huh?
Not allowed.
Not a lot.
not the lab.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I have about 10 years of GIS experience before that, mostly in local government. I did my undergrad in it as well. And if I had to make a map, it would probably be about locust swarms and their movements and impacts on food
Why do
security.
you say that?
That's my dissertation focus.
There you go. Cool, be good to have you in class again. Next up, Roy.
Yeah, hi, I'm Roy. I studied environmental science, got my bachelor's in that, and now I'm getting my certificate for GIS. My area of focus is the Deer Creek watershed, but it's mostly for like, well, it's about all of it, but I guess if I were to make a map to focus, it would be probably kind of an overlap of like what would be a natural landscape versus the kind of land development and landscape that there is right now, and how that, you know, changes obviously very basic and sometimes vital natural occurrences and causes a lot of damage when people don't know or care what they're doing, but they'll have those projects anyway. So,
Or when there is at least not a clear line of, I don't know, technology and
knowing when to stop.
methods to
Is
use
also
to
relevant.
actually restore waterways rather than just like protecting yourself from litigation.
Yeah, and there's also a ton of problems with greenwashing when it comes to a lot of those projects where they'll like that rock levee bank.
Yeah.
On all of the announcements, they did not mention a single time anything about rocks or like stones or anything, and all they'd mention is all the native plants that they would be planting after they clear cut
Keywords,
everything.
man, that's all people care about, to see keywords.
They didn't even properly.
They probably
say
mention
that's-
native like species and they get like a boost in funding or
Oh,
something.
yeah, they said they were planting deep rooted plants and they're like this tiny, and I'm like, you know what had deep roots? Stuff that was there before.
Yeah, no. But yeah, over on our side of the river, the Army Corps just removed like a bunch of old growth trees right along the river behind the like one of the main levees. And I'm pissed because driving along that road every day, I have seen many bald eagles nesting in those.
Well, and
those trees.
there are fewer and fewer left because
Yeah.
they clear cut them, and then they're like, oh yeah, this thing that I planted kind of didn't really care about it, but in like, I'm sure in no time it'll be back to where it was, but it's like, no,
it takes,
you'll be dead before it's even close to what it was before.
well, you take some things environment away for 10 years. That's a big
Yeah.
deal.
But they're just trying to like, the river de Pear is basically what awaits Deer Creek. Because if like Great River Greenway's approach to erosion is to just clear cut the thing, well, there's erosion all over down the stream. And if they just like don't address what the erosion problem is and then just act on the symptoms by removing the entire like bank entirely, then it will look just like, River de Pear or River Despair is what I would call it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've said this to you, our methods aren't very good at restoring, and we don't even know what natural is. And like, do you restore a channel to a natural appearance or a natural function? Do you allow it to change over time, as natural rivers are known very well to do? The answer is usually no, because we want them to stay where they are. And at least here in St. Louis, we don't really seem to care about how much water they can carry either, or whether they have an accessible floodplain, which is really important.
Yeah, no, they just keep building on them, and then they're like, oh, where's this water keeps coming in sometimes. It's like, because you gave it no place to go.
Yeah.
Same thing with the coyotes that are there now.
Cool, thank you, Roy. Next up.
My name's Will. I'm a second year MS in biostatistics and health analytics student.
What's your last name, Will?
Drexler, DRE actually.
Okay.
I have a focus in geospatial analytics with it. So I do mostly mapping of infectious diseases over time. If I were to make a map right now, though, I've been watching a lot of chess recently, and I think it'd be fun to like map ELOs by like location. So whether it's like by country, it's like someone's ranking in chess. So the highest, like Magnus Carlsen has like a 2800 ELO or higher than that. And just mapping it by like country to see like if certain countries like have better rankings than other ones.
Some probably do. Yeah. they're like chess, like training, like, I don't know, like there would be like, say, like international football, like training pipelines that players get into at like 10 and they come out a pro.
Oh, I'm sure there's like some farm system similar to like baseball where it's like you like come to certain schools or like.
Get sent down to the minors when
Yeah,
you're not
exactly.
performing well. Cool, be nice to have you in class, man. Next up,
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm a computer science major undergrad with the certificate for GIS. So my level of experience, this is my 4th GIS class here. And area of focus, I don't really have one. I'd say I'm probably more computer focused than GIS focused. Map, I guess it'd be cool to see like mapping the populations or demographics, like movement over time.
okay. So you would probably be into Avi's work. Avi is doing exactly that. He's using like cell phone GPS data to pretty much monitor the movement of people around baseball games here in the city. Yeah, it's interesting. Next up, thank you.
I'm Kiana, I'm a 2nd-year master's student in the biology department. I've taken 1 GIS class, but I spent my entire winter break mapping, so it feels like a little bit more than that. Well, the map I'm trying to make, or I'm working on making, is I'm looking at how riparian tree coverage has changed over the last like 20 years in the upper Mississippi River basins.
We should hang out, like we should research it.
And then I'm also relating riparian coverage presence to fish diversity throughout the basin, so.
Yeah, because state of Minnesota has the buffer law up in that neck of the woods, and like water quality is really important to them. So that's cool. Yeah, they do a lot better up there than we do down here. So, I'll be good to have you in class. Next, August. That's my name. That's my birth month. Congrats.
The name's August. I'm taking 2 GIS classes right now. I've taken 3 so far. My area of focus, I look at water birds and waterfowl in urban park environment, specifically forest park. And I relate it to a whole bunch of different site level factors, water quality, prey abundance, etc. And right now, I am currently making a map of the bathymetry of each of the ponds I'm looking at.
How you get those data?
Hard work.
Hard work. You full survey.
I'm going out and I'm interpolating using fish finder sonar.
Oh, okay, nice, cool. So that's a better method than I would have been using in my master's degree. So I was doing bathymetry. Using a Chadri, I used a total station to survey bathymetry. Yeah, so I was out standing in the middle of a stream channel for about 3 months. So we did like 200 cross sections. It covered like 1.5 miles of stream. That's the sort of stuff that I enjoy doing. Well, be good to have you again.
Question on that.
My name is Fabio. I'm a first year graduate student in biology department.
What program? You a master's, PhD, what?
I'm kind of both.
Okay.
I am transitioning to a PhD because I already have a master's, so why choose, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a transition into a PhD. I work with bison, so if you ask me a map, it'll be animal movement.
You have a single study area that you usually focus on, right? Two. Where are they? How big are they?
One is called Dunn Range. Is a nature conservancy property by Bethany, Missouri.
Are there any like streams on that property?
Yeah. Very, very ephemeral.
Okay.
My dad managed that property for 12 years.
There you go. Matt and Art's dad managed that property for 12 years.
World is very small.
Well, Missouri's small. World's pretty big.
So the bison there has around like 2,000 acres that they have available for them.
So more small scale maps than like a
Yes.
nationwide map of bison.
We are increasing the numbers though, like we are creating partnerships, so we're gonna be coloring bison in different properties. The other one that we.
Are you using like imagery based methods or GPS based methods or what? Just so everybody understands what sort of medium you're using to do this.
Yeah, so I have right now 10 animals that are tagged. 5 in each
GPS
side.
trackers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other site is called Prairie State Park, is likely bigger town close by is Lamar, Missouri, where
Okay.
President Truman was born. Also, the park is 4,000 acres, but the bison have only 2,000 acres available to them.
The President Truman thing around, because I know you're not from here.
I'm far away from here.
Yep.
But yeah, so we have 10 animals collared with GPS collars. And we track their movement.
Cool.
And we're gonna collar a bunch more.
Nice. All in the same study areas? Sorry, go ahead, Sabrina.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
So are the new ones you're collaring gonna be in the same areas, the same study areas or different?
We are changing the model of collars that we're gonna use, so they're like cheaper and more efficient, because right now I need to go to the sites and collect the data,
Yeah.
which is great for battery life. So usually like if the collar sends you the data is about like 3 years. The collar that I'm using is like 5 to 7.
Okay, yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the long run, you save a lot of money. But we found this other company that makes like way cheaper collars that will send us the data.
Yeah, I know you mentioned you were
So
having
we will
trouble.
collar we are planning to collar more animals in both sides because just 5 is not enough.
Good.
And then we only have cows that are collared. So we want to collar some of the bulls because
Yeah.
dynamic is completely different.
Aerodynamics, man, yeah.
And then collar, the next property that we're gonna put collars is Konza, Prairie in Kansas.
Okay, cool, nice.
So, yeah.
Sounds exciting.
And other properties like Oklahoma, like TNC is like really excited to partner with us and we're gonna be collaring as many as we have money to.
Yeah, very neat. Well, good to see you again, man. Supriya, you wanted to ask him
You
something?
want to Dr. Blake?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Shukriya, so Dr. Blake told me that you are working on that.
Yeah, but we were both from Blake's Flat.
Oh, okay.
Why bison?
Well, I'm technically a mammologist, so mammals are my thing, and then bison is just like, they're awesome, why not?
You ever think bison will be a truly wild species in the US like they used to be?
Never gonna be that.
Yeah.
Our plan, like the really big picture would be like changing the rancher's mind and abandon cattle and raise bison.
Yeah.
Never gonna happen either, but.
No way.
An
Bison.
interesting tidbit about the bison at Dunn Ranch.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt, go ahead.
Interesting tidbit about the bison at Dunn Ranch. They were actually introduced to manipulate the habitat for nesting of prairie chickens. The purpose of bison reintroductions was not at all to have bison. It was just to manipulate habitat for prairie chicken nest success.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Bison is really important for prairie habitat, and
Oh,
prairie
yeah.
habitat is disappearing.
Yeah, I know I've seen some awesome studies come out of like preserves like Yellowstone, like the reintroduction of like wolves and the influence of wolves on the distribution of bison within the park. Cause I mean, biology creates the majority of erosion in some places. And if you don't have something to chase the bison away from the streams, they'll just stand around the banks, trotting the banks down, causing all kinds of erosion. But when you introduce a predator,
Bison
they're
are
not.
awesome, why not? Like, that was a very simple answer. There's
Yeah.
many more reasons why to study bison than that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, I am also working on sort of that project from satellite. So we are gathering planiscope images to see the vegetation health for the habitat.
Okay, sweet.
for the
I know
project.
you were doing proximity to water
Yes.
last semester. I imagine something like that's going on with your stuff. Yeah, no. Well, cool, we've got collaboration in the classroom already. Next up,
Hey, I'm Camilla. This is my 5th class from Zach, but I think
well, you're like a what, 4th year PhD student now? 10th?
No, I started 2 years ago. This is like, I'm just starting my 3rd year.
Okay.
Hopefully last semester. Okay. I think I would map a change because the reason I choose this field was I wanted to be able to see the changes of what's happening back home, somewhere that I can't really go home right now.
Where are you from and
Okay.
why is it important?
But that's $1 million question, but I'll try.
Well, that's why you're here, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I'm here. My country used to call East Turkestan, but it's occupied by China and called Xinjiang, and it's like 1/6 of whole Chinese territory. It's super important for Chinese geopolitical interests and lots of natural gas and oil coming from there. So as important as Tibet, but the size is also as big as Tibet. It's in Central Asia. It's surrounded by China, Tibet, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan.
You're a Uyghur
Pakistan.
Muslim, right?
I am.
Yeah, your people are being
Persecuted.
put in camps and kept there forever.
Yeah, and some of them are released after they got super sick, and I have a relatives who's been in the camp and out. For the very first JS class, I did chloroplast map. I still can't.
Yes, yep.
To relate the number of Uyghur people with the concentration camps that built after 2018, because there were satellite imagery that actually pinpoint 316 concentration camps, which is not the prisons. There are prisons, but in addition to that, which put about 1.5 million Uyghurs. And for us, because we were out, we know how the change is politically, and just because I'm talking, we will consider it as a threat to China, and we cannot really go home, but there's so much we can do. So I would make a change. For example, in my village, half of the population lost their land. So when I go back, when I first got my master's and went back 2011, I could not believe my eyes because there was like so much change in 3 years. So right now, the city that I got my education from, it expanded 4 times in the last 10 years, which means there's so much of exploitation of the minerals, the water and everything. And then there's a river very similar to Colorado River, which is called Ely River, just because the same name that is a town. It also water supply going to Kazakhstan is getting so little, but Kazakhstan is really good relationship with China. I don't know why, the same countries. I don't know why they don't ask, but there's a problem just like Colorado River supply going to Mexico is getting really low. But there's tons of problems. In the one thing I would be emphasizing is expansion of the urban area, and then the change in the farming, because lots of farmers lost their land, and then their farming area, the crop type change from their like corn and wheat, they change lots of cotton, which takes lots of water, which is already desert area. So when we talk about the colonization or invasion, it's mostly the people directly impacted, which I showed on the previous map I did on the first class. But I would like to expand that and to show, hopefully someday, I don't know when, but to show its impact on the nature and the environment, because there are people and there's like species and there's animals. Sorry
Thank
for
you.
the long lecture, but
No,
that's what I wanted
It's
to.
like we're taking our time on these. We're having a little discussion with everybody, so it's normal. It's normal. Thank you, Camilla. And lastly,
My name is Jenny. I'm an undergrad studying environmental science and biology. I've taken one other GIS course, so this is my second, and I have an interest in conservation. So I'm taking a conservation biology class right now, and we're focusing on endangered species. So I'd want to do a map on tracking patterns and migration patterns of different endangered species.
well, what sort of endangered species? Because there's a bunch of them. Do you have
Oh,
like
yeah.
a focus on birds or bees or anything like that?
Specific species of bats.
Okay, nice,
Yeah.
cool. We did, in my ECS program up at North Dakota, we did a bunch of bat work because bats are super important to agriculture, as a lot of people don't really understand. So, yeah, it's like billions of dollars of work that bats do for us. They're important as well as a species. So, thank you, everybody. If we will transition, I'm not gonna give you a break today. Because at the end of class, typically, I will give you time to get working on what we're gonna be working for the week. That is so you can ask me questions before you head home and feel more confident about what you're doing, maybe get some work done so you can use your time more constructively outside of class. So the rest of what I've got scheduled for you today is our warm-up activity. So most of the time that we are going to be in here, you are going to be playing the role of a GIS specialist or a data analyst, whatever position you may have in the geospatial world. And you will be treating your projects as if I am a stakeholder that is interested in having you do work for me. On your end, you are mostly in charge of getting the job done in this sort of scenario. So I want to make sure that you are confident in doing that before you ever leave. That's what I'm getting at. So I've got a prompt for you on Canvas to take care of before class next week. I typically don't care if you get started on that right now or at home. My one bit of advice for each of you, though, is get started on it now. Because if you wait until the last day and you need help, I'm not going to be able to help you on the last day. Sorry. So if you get started in here today, I can help you, and then you'll know if you need any more help as you work further. And every single one of my GIS professors has taught me that, like at the beginning of the class. You have work, get started on it now. And don't wait until the last moment. So for these, my prompt here, just to briefly walk you through it. Incomplete sentences. Complete sentences is important. This goes to communication, no chat PTBS or anything like that. You have to learn how to communicate in a written format. You have to be able to, I know you're intelligent, but you might not be intelligent, but you have to make yourself sound intelligent. And if you could be the most intelligent person in the world, if you can't communicate that to people, nobody's gonna know your knowledge. Nobody's gonna be able to benefit from your knowledge. So complete sentences when we're in here, act like I'm your boss and you're trying to, you're showing me a project that I have assigned to you as your career. And if you don't fulfill this goal the best way that you possibly can, I'm gonna fire you. That's not gonna happen. I can't fire you out of my class. I can force you to drop the class, but that's only if you like stop coming. So 2 parts of the prompts here. What are the 2 primary fundamental types of spatial data? Shouldn't be anything new for anyone. Why might data type, file format be important in data management strategies? Pretty basic questions. The answers may or may not already be in your head. This is the time, if you don't know them, to go do some research on why these things are important. There are, I mean, there's pretty concrete answers to these, the first part of this at least. And then number 2 there. Imagine that you are a GIS specialist. Here you are, you're imagining you're in a role. Imagine you're a GIS specialist working as a forester for the city of St. Louis. Your job is to create a database of tree health in Tower Grove Park. List at least 6 data sets that you would include in your data set, a short description of what the data set is and why you are including it in your database. And then I give you a little example there. So the example, data set 1 would be trees, so tree location. And the description of what that is, my description is a layer holding information on tree location, species, and health. So immediately we are expanding on the data. What I want you to think about in this description is possibly some attributes that you would hold in your table, because the data themselves are going to be the tree locations. But we all know very well in the geospatial world, there is always tabular data associated with our spatial data. So start to brainstorm on what some like attributes of a data set, say trees, might be. Like tree height or canopy height, tree species, tree health. Is it a fruiting tree or not? Many different things we can have here. And to give you a different example, one that's not like focused on specifically like our data product, we always have to be able to give our users, the users of our databases, we have to give them context. So what other data might you be able to include that will give your users context to understanding why the trees might be distributed as they are? Because you're not just going to show a map with points indicating the tree locations and nothing else, right? What else might you include if we're doing this tree database? Roy?
elevation and like, you know, where the water channel is and.
Yeah, so elevation. Water, either bodies or footprints or. Name it. There's a bunch of different ways to describe where water is.
Watershed,
Sorry,
watershed,
watersheds, yep. How about other things?
soil moisture.
Soil moisture, yep. And
Vegetation, temperature.
there are so many supporting data sets that you could possibly bring in. You could just have like an imagery data set. That would tell you where the trees are in a different way rather than just digitizing them as a point or a polygon. So point is, you don't only have to focus on your main data product here, you can also focus on the supporting data that you might want to hold in your database. And then finally, I want you to think about why those data are going to be important to your database. If you're going to include it, this is where you justify why you're including it. If we're having soil moisture data, why is soil moisture data important to have in terms of trees and their potential health? Trees need water to grow. Yeah, and their roots are in the soil. So it may seem like a very stupid thing you are doing. I probably say this too openly, but society's dumb. We have to be able to lay everything out for them to guide their hands, hold their hands through our data products. So when we're showing when we're justifying the decisions that we make, you have to treat people as if they know absolutely nothing. The stakeholders for this could be like the CEO of a company who knows absolutely nothing about remote sensing technology. So if you're going to include in a planet image for your tree distribution database, why are you including that? And what might your stakeholders benefit from? If it's a planet image, they're going to get a pretty realistic satellite view of the tree distribution. So you can interpret the real life scenario versus the data points. That's what I would tell them, because you have to physically tell your stakeholders what they are going to get out of it. So that's what I want you to practice here, because we're going to do this pretty much the first half of the semester. So next week when we get in here, you're going to start brainstorming an idea that you would care to work on for a couple consecutive weeks. And we're going to do the whole planning process for databases. So if you have some data handling work that needs done for your projects, this is a great time to do it. I'm saying for your research projects, not like your final projects. Because you can totally make research progress in here throughout the semester. I encourage that, actually. So this is your prompt for the week. Nice and easy, just a quick little box to check and get your brains in gear for the rest of the semester. So we're going to come in here next week. I'm going to call on people to explain their answers. I'm going to call on multiple people because this is, it's going to be open floor, and I'm going to be asking you to justify your decision making. And it may seem that we're like picking your decision making apart, but that's exactly what stakeholders do in the process. So I am going to make sure that you're checking all the boxes that any potential stakeholder might want you to in the future. Try and fulfill all those different roles that could possibly take. But that's all I've got for you today. Your requirements for the discussion are here. The discussion is on Canvas. You are more than welcome to get started on it now. Or if you're confident, you've already looked at it and you're like, oh, this is easy, I'll do it at home. Get it done. I don't care how it's done. Just needs to be done by next Monday at 4. All righty, folks, the rest of the time is yours. Be a pleasure to have you in class this semester. Good deal, man. Yeah. You learned from last semester. That's good. I'll see you. Take care.
And I didn't.
That I wasn't.
Where are you doing? Next person is Chris.
I didn't like.
This is actually kind of and not at the same time. Like solar exposure. Yep. You know, it was a little, but I was wondering.
Not right.
Where you capture infrastructure of that nature, all we care to capture is the structure. So what we're actually capturing is the elevation of that infrastructure. You know how, and that would come in it would start out as a LiDAR point cloud, be processed into sort of elevation. It would represent the surface of a building. And then we would run a model, run a Kotlin or probe, and it would output the solar exposure in raster. So we can, I mean, we can have different attributes or different bands of raster data, but it's gonna be a little bit different.
I always know. It's interesting, then, you know, Serpro.
That's the only answer to anything, it's just. Are you gonna bring up the it's something. I think about it every time. I think Serpro, the one where was heavily contracted, yeah, by the city. I got one the aviation. And their thing, up, down, upstream. One and made it to be. And I'm gonna have a nice photo of the register. By then.
Yeah.
Are you in the, I'm still here, leading to assignment, but it like, yeah.
Our narrative. Like.
I'm ready to go now.
Well, I see.
Shopping.
40 to 40.
This was today, earlier today. This, I think, also, I think all of these, not these, but starting here. You can see nice little, like, rockwoody that's way out.
Yeah, well.
I started getting a lot of them, but actually found.
It's like my big times.
Yeah, I found something interesting because as I was just like messing around, I thrown early on like in work. So this was March 27th.
That's definitely. It's like, yeah, this guy.
That's what I did.
And so instead of like fixing anything or doing anything, right, they just decided to fill in what, like the gap.
Maybe I
And you can definitely tell by the depth of the boulders on either side of this first. And like, you know, this, like this class, these collapsed, it was all supposed to look like this.
Until he gets back.
You know, like, you can see that they were trying to,
With the folders they got.
it's hard to like zoom in on these, but like.
But the last time we were out was like.
Not like sub-zero yet.
So
They expect.
I think that'd be.
Sandbags and stakes could hold back an entire, like.
Bad situation like with this, honestly, we just bring low mattress and blankets, and that's fine. And it's toasty, it's great. Yeah.
Just like, yeah, no, any desire to do like back, but it'd be interesting, even more interesting. This, like.
Well, I don't know if there's a number.
Was still like, it was like this until like May or something, when they finally started the literal rain.
You know,
Just like snapped over the wall, stuck on the ground.
I can imagine.
We went to there.
So it'd be cool, but it makes sense.
The trees and like the little, stem huts were like. Actually able to breathe for crying out loud. I was like, they weren't, but.
Yeah.
Choke, I guess it's all that, but there's still like obviously like erosion. And
Yeah, that's like the
bunch
big,
of, like
big
obvious,
trips, like, unless it's.
just, there's like scrap in here, there's like, like plastic, like concrete and other, just like scrap material. But they added another section. And I still get it right. Cause I just forgot like exactly how they did that. It's not like they thought that the.
I'm so glad.
Yes, we have spring. I know, I was like, I never got into classes there, answer, but just put some really much there, again, but not really that much, just like a layer. And we're good, it's like we. Like nothing that they do makes sense, but it's, I got. Washing because. Now we're like. Insane, like, stop showing up their green monkey is. None of them, they never mentioned that is gonna be. And it's funny because their photos are taken from the POV of the only place that had actually did this guy's. In that location, and they just got lucky. Like, they just got lucky that it failed. Then, of course.
We created a GS map of this room, putting in it.
This honestly has to.
I'm gonna track attendance in your class.
That was from.
In the intro class, on the first day, it was like, everybody was like doubling up on computers.
What the end of the semester looked like.
Semester, there was like 6 people there.
Well, yeah,
I was like, oh,
this, and it's all like saturated.
Same thing.
All that they
here.
did.
I was saying how I don't have my spot back and people stop showing up.
And like
Yeah.
walkways.
I'd say Francis is not elected.
The same exact time. They're
Giant, you gotta sit in
like,
20 chairs.
Expanding the floodplain will allow for more natural landscape for non-water flow, natural habitat restoration, and I'm like.
About the just project of like not being able to split the percentage of time of.
And then it's potential, and this players, after they like go, oh, yeah, Redford, after
Said that shit like remote sensing stuff, like.
potential recreation.
Yeah, it's very.
It's all gonna be.
Sensing project. Cause like all you would do is create an image library of all the possible images over St.
Natural
Louis.
habitat restoration.
And then you would run a cloud mask for all of them.
This
And
will.
if you give that cloud, so the cloud mask will produce a raster of, it's a discrete.
I mean,
raster.
it's so they've already, and
Give the clouds
like
value of
this
one,
entire
and
area.
then do raster map to add them all together. That'll tell you how many times clouds are present in all of your data. So then you by the pixel value, by the total number of images, and
I got they do
I was
that
like,
problem or.
Yeah.
And so they just decided,
You need like clouds to be that
everything. So no, there can be no saturation, no.
yeah, radar, we don't have to. Like I said, we don't.
Make sure I have a bottleneck, basically, but here, where it's
yeah, any
literally a
metal
metal
tank imagery, so anything that like little like with visible light, like not gonna be usable. Like thermal, you
have it
can
like right at the
you can
front.
still use
This
thermal
area,
but it's
this is
not
Breckenridge.
perfect.
And like
But it's really those
they
like
basically just choke the living crap out of this.
visible
This is
data that we need.
directly upstream from.
It's,
like,
yeah, I mean, it's a challenge
and all
because
that stuff.
especially in my world of knowing that
Flooding,
flooding,
what is underneath
time if it's flooding,
the train
anywhere,
bridge is
wow.
a pedestrian bridge that is like
About like and.
literally like at risk of collapse. But
Termination of
Greenway
like forecast,
hasn't,
so like
like,
you expect
literally
that they
haven't, like,
probably not big time historic.
This
Yeah, right, and so then like
to give away.
extending the timeline would be super cool.
I mean, you can
because then
even
you
see
can
where
cut
the
it down by
cellular
the
unit
day. So like on
even-
April 4th, what is the percentage like, of chance that it's going to be cloudy? Given random occurrences, like not taking into account the physical systems that actually determine whether it's cloudy. This one I took today, and those was it cloudy.
Preventing erosion at Deer Creek.
And how does that vary in space? It's like clouds, like even if you look at the state, it's not going
And
to.
loss of loss of biodiversity, loss of soil nutrients.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, like on the upward
It is
slope,
just a couple of
Side.
knives, like
another center.
Look at the other side.
Like,
Yeah.
like a 6 foot drop, like massive erosion. And I always thought that was hilarious. I mean, I don't think any of this is hilarious, but I thought it was because. Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna email,
Oh, there's
I don't want.
layers?
Okay, well, let me
Yes, let me
just send just one, oh, dumpsters, obviously. And it was actually interesting, as I was taking photos of this dumpster, a trash can from Deer Creek Park that they're not like tied down or anything.
Awesome.
And they're super light when there's no trash in it.
Yeah.
It just got like, oh, you can tell that it just did because of the splash, the fact that this is floating. And taking on water.
And
There's a whole.
then like after you start at like small scale, you treat it up to this, like it would be super cool to like look at that from
It slides totally down to the creek.
Even like showing.
You know, and risk.
They can't do drone photography. Clouds,
Like, you know, all of that stuff.
I guess probably
You don't have to worry about
Literally
it.
have no idea why they did it.
Yeah,
the good.
I don't know. Like,
well, like military drones, like yes, they absolutely have
There is.
clouds,
Now there is.
but it's not like.
There's like literally no
drone below the
problem.
clouds,
This
they can
limestone
and then put it back up there.
poisons the creek.
Yeah.
And literally.
Something to think about if you're like truly are curious. about
Yeah,
that.
no.
I mean, that's something we could,
They're choked.
like, totally have the capabilities to do.
If a project that involves cloud,
You know, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
I could give
like
you.
this is, they took this photo because it was the only place, this is what most of them
I
look
have a
still.
cool grad project like all these guys.
Maybe that's your undergrad.
They have, they didn't, you know, whittle the.
Yeah, I'd actually have to do a senior
drinking water, they didn't, you know, incentivize root growth.
So I'll also be taking a GIS class during that time, so I'm not sure if I could like save my really good idea for that one, or they just cut it and
So
shove
you
it
can
into
always
Yeah.
make your really neat idea, right? It didn't work it
Yeah,
later,
that's true.
or like update it.
But I don't know anything on data.
How is anything supposed to grow like that?
Am I gonna be involved with this process?
Again,
I'll probably be in the office
sandbags.
hours, but
Like,
Yeah.
how were
Well, if one of us
sandbags
was
supposed to like?
or something together, I'd be happy with
You
that
can
too.
even see the boulder on top of the sandbags,
GIS.
like, it's hilarious.
Yes, yeah, if you're going the,
I think take GIS capstone and
Well, really?
meteorology capstone.
The addition of this, like, I don't know,
That's it.
I play like touch ups.
I don't like the term two birds with one stone because it.
And
makes
they
you
both
do
go
something,
away.
but,
Oh.
yeah, two things can be done
I
at
know
the
a
same
solution,
time.
I've heard of this one.
And I think that would be a good project.
Yeah, you know, I think the solution to the failed rocks is to add more rocks. And then if those fail, just add more rocks. And at some point, the rocks have to win.
Okay,
But-
yeah.
It's different from an attribute, right?
Attributes are held within data sets.
Data sets.
So attributes are typically held within tables and.
So like if you've got a data set that's trees, could a data set also be tree height, or is that more of like an attribute? Is there a distinction?
It depends how it is stored in the raster format.
Blue conservation thing.
If you have a
They
raster.
they definitely do a lot of stuff with River Disparate, and they get a lot of stuff in that. And there's a lot of trash, so much trash in Deer Creek.
Species and tree height with rasters, but you would have to make sure it makes sense to store those attributes in the same raster. Fixing is doing any machine learning, where if you have like a bunch of different bands in your raster that are different attributes of trees, and then you might have a band that is species. You can do all your machine learning work right there in the raster.
I'm just talking like, is there a certain scale or a magnitude that differentiates? the
It's
data
Christmas.
from an attribute?
I might.
Attribute plastic in the trees. But yeah, and
I mean, in a vector data set, there's help from the attribute table, but
Right.
your master,
there's like a short little.
In my tree data set, I
slideshow
had an
thing,
attribute
and then
that's
like
tree
some
height.
emergency stuff, but right here with the links.
Sometimes
This,
the beneficial
your
dogs
big
would have
photo
like
drive,
a data set.
it has
that's
all
tree
of
height,
the
like,
photos and videos.
Is that just not?
Absolutely, because the way that we're gonna calculate tree height, or height would be the technical term, and that is use a raster.
Yeah, and
We're gonna make an elevation
especially when you
raster and
have-
a canopy raster, and then we're gonna track
Earlier,
That kind of two different data
just to
sets,
like
one was a
have
survey
a
type.
better-
But your product's gonna be canopy height, and there's gonna be one attribute held, which is gonna be the height of the canopy. It's not gonna tell you the location of the specific tree,
Yeah, but
but
I mean, hey,
it could be.
if you show me those, I can definitely check them out with my
Set
own.
to measure the height of the tree at the center of the tree,
Yeah,
which is where your GPS point would probably be.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So you could
Um,
create an algorithm to calculate the tree height in your vector data from your canopy height raster. You'd really just be extracting it down from it.
Mr. Drexler, I'm not sitting by you. I
Uh,
came in too late. I went to MDH.
Did you really?
I was like,
always
I was so excited to have class. I was like, oh, I've never had class in this building.
No, it is cool up there. It's,
I
I've
was-
heard
I
a
was
lot of
like-
good things about.
I got there at 4:12 and there's nobody here. And I was like, what's going on?
Text the email, it's like, oh.
And then last year at this time, the microwave remote sensing class was in this classroom, so it just defaulted to keep the same classroom as last year.
Well, that's the second time I've walked into a wrong classroom this semester and I'm not a freshman, so I felt kind of embarrassed. I was like, oh, but they were both because Banner wasn't the right course. So I went to the right Banner
Yeah.
course, but,
Hey, you gotta get out and see campus somehow.
right. That's okay though.
I get to do it when I have to go scout out classrooms, typically on the professor to determine whether or not the classroom has the technology that they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the classrooms was like, there's a studio in Xavier Hall, apparently, it has like a green screen, and I'm taking like a broadcast course for meteorology, and I was like, I didn't even know that even existed.
Yeah.
A fancy camera in there, I was like,
This bad boy out of the creek today. Still had gas in it.
Rena, how have you been?
It was literally like all the wind.
you said she would wake your
I had to like switch it out.
Yeah, like.
Like sleep under.
I had to just like get out of bed.
They have a space heater, it's like.
But it's- Like
The erosion is super bad anyway. Like, but
your space heater to
I mean, there's always.
I know that's a specific warning on my tent. Yeah, no, trees.
That was kind of like,
Because
like, it doesn't even get that hot.
satellite image of like the actual watershed, and you'll see just how many industries just like choke the creek hole so that they can dump their
Snow's kind of.
into it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that they do it. And where do you basically creates like a bottleneck,
It's
it's like
like-
putting high pressure on the valve and then of course.
There's a lot of like,
It was like,
people just don't.
they saw how,
So that's not a big
huge, they saw.
We have lots of places where nobody went.
The slope
I was in North Dakota.
ownership, we're kind of like
There, but here.
flattened out around
Tell you about this place,
the,
you can tell
when you
anybody
get there.
else. Okay?
People don't talk about it around.
And the water would back up like traffic on a highway. And I'm like,
You didn't even know what it was.
I don't compare water management to traffic. I'm not from the solution
You're like out.
is to make it. Dry.
I come in, I sit at my desk, I go home,
Actually,
and I come back.
the soil won't have it just be long grass and then
Yeah.
a bottleneck that just fires it downstream that is humanly possible. And I mean, the bridge,
Yeah, I think that's like.
I mean, not unless they're most local, completely down, but like the bridge is like, I don't even know how it's standing, to be honest, because like, it's like already.
Hey, you can just support that, and like the fact that I can, it's.
You know, and of course,
Across the bridge.
like, just go across it, you're like, man,
Like,
well, I mean,
we started going baseball, maybe like middle school.
Yeah, and-
School on chilly days on
Oh,
Wednesday.
Also, and this is more next to like
It is weird.
Use as, you know, more like weapons than anything. Big
Like I've seen this
but
like my
like there are.
178 gram.
Yeah, yeah, like collective.
Not like
trees
Missouri, there's
that are-
a state roadway, it's a other
that are
national
winged, like leaning on the bridge.
Aside from the actual,
Like the, like.
Not real.
Trees right here are all leaning on.
Uh,
the bridge.
like go back.
Yeah, so it's their genius idea
Like a.
is that.
That's a natural pond.
No, it's actual natural park, erosion is the problem, so,
Okay.
which is.
No, but there's a differentiation between a national monument and a national trees.
And I'm like, oh, so trees risk. All of them? That's what they did. They just clear cut the whole thing.
They.
We don't even need it. And we're only gonna get rid of the risk of damage.
Yeah, Northern National Senior
By
Roadway
damage,
is like
I mean-
3 hours plus south.
But they've certainly damaged it now. I mean, it is like so.
Now, so we gotta search this.
Now, it's already for definitely not for
Search that like high velocity is.
It's,
It's got 1,000 Google.
And now there's no.
This is a national scenic area, which is a whole different designation of protection. National parks, the high level.
It sustains that velocity and then just continue
Waterways, scenic, like ground.
especially when it gets past the street in between Avenue and Creek Shopping Center.
Doing a national.
Then,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
like I said,
that is
erosion,
somewhat
like,
protected, but not as heavily protected as like a national. park.
Like it
Makes
is,
sense,
it is
like, I can
like
bring my dog.
unbelievable. I mean,
Can't take your dog to a national park,
It is
usually not even a state park.
really?
Well, Missouri.
In
you can't.
Ohio, like state parks don't allow dogs.
It's just, yeah, so the deep drop off and like.
I'd say it's amazing how much humans affect things around them. I like,
Great River Green,
I think my phone listens to me talking to this, so like, when I'm sitting around, I scroll through my Google feed and there are just links to all kinds of like papers on like.
rocks and concrete don't have.
What do you wanna get?
Having a sparsely used like trail in like a certain area affects the movement.
Like, there's nothing to help them out. So.
They're so good at finding
Going, the erosion, it will just keep going back and back and back, and just keep taking more and more and more. And, you know, I mean, but they did that.
Or the just rivers.
No, like, go right.
It's all you need, River Greenway, because again, this was their quote answer. I mean, they greenwashed the crap out of it, like. For the public, perception was that it was actually an invasive species removal and native species introduction kind of project. And that's how they advertised it. That's how people thought it was gonna happen. And then they did.
Is it really that good, the scenic railway?
Especially like if you would see exactly how they did it.
Riverways?
Not the Riverway, oh, sorry, it's Riverway.
Have it in
I found out a train from Amtrak.
Somehow. Like, oh, so, yes, the strategy.
Yeah, they have some like scenic routes that.
So, it's,
It didn't fail, and I'm like,
yes, I think it was.
they do a lot of Detroit.
Yeah, so there's a, when it,
Increase the slope of the creek bank, and I'm like,
well, the train
because
is
you
the same.
dumped a bunch of rocks into the
Kansas
creek.
City and,
Or sticking
you know,
to the creek.
Like,
Yes.
no, it goes south down to Texas.
Yeah.
Yes,
That was
stabilize the creek.
Area.
Yes, and they
Slope, like this
market the
section right
tickets
here
as a
These
scenic
all
railway.
rocks that are supposed to be here.
Yeah,
And instead, like, the creek line is right here.
I've taken Amtrak a couple times and they're on, they have a,
Again,
like, they have
but it's
sleeper cars that you can
Like,
buy and they sell a vacation package kind of where you go a scenic route when you're really just on the normal route.
The
Yeah.
creek is
Yeah.
like.
It's
around
true,
the
it'd be nice to-
pedestrian bridge itself,
Amtrak's
like,
cool though.
really
but
bad.
train.
I do as well.
Yeah.
like, I'm standing like right now, and like, my head does not, like, I
Chicago,
am
Chicago.
far below, like, actually, like, high.
Actually.
You can see all of these routes and how none of them are really that big.
Yeah, the change over. I think.
I'm over Chicago.
And,
I usually
you
obligated
know,
to- I didn't just hate
this is like.
Yeah, like I've been a couple times now. It's okay. I still don't like
It's okay.
Chicago.
They planted a little baby tree.
They're like, look, you find this. I don't know Chicago because like
No,
they reverse the flow of the Chicago River, send everything waste down here to us, like. And the city of St. Louis couldn't act fast enough to prove that they would be causing detriment to the water resources of the city. So
It's
City of
literally
Chicago
like great big-
was able
great
to
big
create this
big
entire project that
The rocks
diverted
collapsed, and
like
then they're like,
a significant
So,
portion of like flow down our way. And all of a
instead of
sudden,
like,
like,
no,
because this,
why?
the-
But you can
started
even
in like
see
the
the
foundation
foundation,
or
the
something like
concrete
that, because
foundation
like
got so
City of
compressed
Chicago
that
was
it's like
getting their water from
vomited
the
out a
lake.
bunch of,
They're putting all of their,
you know, concrete.
water in the lake,
And like you could see the little like legs are like off.
solution was.
I mean, and there has been,
Vishal,
like debris cleanup, like there's been no nothing
ideas
from anywhere.
I discussion.
All the way back, like at the end of July, beginning of August.
Okay.
It's like all the way across here, like,
Also started gone.
I mean, it is like.
Okay.
Hell, and in fact, I could just go ahead and send you,
1 hour apart.
my list, that story, if you wanted to know, what was.
So if you
Ready to take
still
green
the
line,
discussion from.
new term.
we prepared for next.
So this greenwashing is just when you buy.
Greenwashing is
Green
when-
place of-
no.
Thank you.
Greenwashing is kind of like,
Hey, I'm working with my.
it's, you know,
Hey, see my.
it's metaphorically like you have something that's
Side effect of that last project, horrible last class, but like,
put it through a greenwash.
like in waterhead hearings and stuff,
Alter,
got
you
like
know, the
experience with
people's
high
quality
quality
going on.
now.
Make yourself look
And like,
really
like they-
altruistic, like, oh, this is about, you know, natural habitats,
Whether,
this is about.
Yeah.
if there's any way to like, help not your like, GIS always looks inward, it's like look outward, would you like a GIS project? that
Well,
big? So like space map,
So
Going on.
I mean, I can very.
Depositing sediment into the creek, and that's like harming the photosynthetic plants and the, you know, water, and then like the, yeah, and like, you know, all of like the little like activity creatures, and I'm like, so.
Well, I mean, do we care about the weather itself, or do you care about?
Yeah, and
On
but like,
humans from.
I mean, let's see, just
Okay.
I didn't know if there was like, cause I know GIS is a lot of like mapping the earth.
they
So like,
don't,
are there any satellites just the other way that are like?
don't tell the truth.
Are they like
Every
intake
project that they
solar
ever
radiation
do,
stuff, or is that not really measured?
Yeah, like we can get at like geomagnetic field in different ways.
Okay.
Like, I thought that it was gonna be a
So you
restoration.
can like
Not
detect.
sure if they're,
I mean,
if
I
we
was
map like
away from home, so I didn't get to see it happen.
Aurora Australis, Borealis.
Other than
But
like
the jets that we call them, once they enter the atmosphere, they typically
but I mean,
proceed in the same
basically, in essence,
down
like I even had it here.
the magnetic field.
Go back to.
So that, I mean, that pretty much means that all like space weather, once it interacts with the atmosphere, comes in through the poles and.
I have an executive summary kind of.
So when I was a master's student, I was in awesome
So-
class, and it was like a
This was their.
geospatial program that I was kind of in. It was like
greenwashing.
geospatial, but pretty much everybody.
So this was literally the announcement.
And the project I did was
so,
to,
you know,
are you
and it's
familiar
like-
with induced currents
They're working with the city of Maplewood to.
from geomagnetic storms? So like an extended like power line would be subject to induced
It's
current.
to.
The orientation of said power line is what is most important. Because we know the direction.
The trail's too close to the water.
I'm gonna say,
Like, it's so like, that's a lot of work to.
Orientation of our power line.
Improve the ball field conditions.
Correct. If our power line essentially runs north to south,
There is just.
the current can be induced from the magnetic
It's an
effect of
unusable
those
base.
charged electrons traveling in a single
They're
direction.
helping out with that.
Because if you move a charge in a direction, it induces a magnetic current right that obeys by the right
And
hand.
the, changing the angle of the thing to be.
So,
less steep,
That
it's.
magnetic current thus induces a
and
current
also
in your
rocks.
long
But
linear
it says-
line
it's like a-
power lines. Most common in ones that are underground.
No, this is
Okay.
the web.
So I did, I mapped the power grid.
No, they retroactively changed it, cause I remember seeing this and I don't ever remember anything that talking about a string banks.
There was an event
And I'm like,
it caused
that
one
was
of the
very
largest
retroactive.
that we've ever
And
experienced.
then they were like.
And I mean, people were without power just because our transformers just fall.
Thinking of right, we has rights, the water
was currents. Yeah, I mean, so that, I mean, That's what another is either you're like, you're mapping the trajectory of jets once they enter the atmosphere. I'm not entirely sure if the data exists, how we could even get.
Yeah,
And animals.
I was thinking along the lines of, if I wanted to do space weather, would it be?
Huh?
Would I should?
And then it says trees along the stream bank that are currently at risk of damage.
Outward stuff that can look like not at.
You know,
like,
If
how
you
are
get
we
into
gonna-
that, like,
They said-
it would be more the image
number of trees will be
science side of things, because I mean, we use imagery to analyze
along the
when
stream banks to hold soil in place.
releasing.
And there's
Charge
like,
particles.
and then Brentwood bounds, I mean, well, first of all,
How we
all these sticks are dead.
those moving.
Like this was completed in early spring.
I mean, it's not like you can take a picture of.
Last
that,
year.
they leave the.
It was a whole growing season.
Because, I mean, they bend the corona,
Because-
so they're magnetically like.
Because you can't like.
Plus the camera pointed at the sun, probably.
They didn't even like prep any of the willow cuts, like. they
We're
didn't
actually really-
incentivize, you know, root growth.
Like,
or
I mean,
anything. They literally cut it.
Well,
and
you
then
jump
dumped it
in,
in the ground. And then
remote
a bunch of
sensing.
heavy
As long as
boulders
we can
to compress
manipulate
the
the
soil,
like, the
making it
data, we can
even harder
typically
to breathe.
filter out the like.
And,
minutes.
you know,
Obviously,
surprise, surprise, the only ones that actually survived were the ones where the rocks got off of them. And the slope was actually not as steep. Right here, these two sections that have their collapsed areas. But any place that they still have rocks
I think
surrounding them.
most of the like, most of the work you could do in that would either be the like image analysis focusing on the sun.
That means that you have
Or-
them.
Or
Or gotten
focus to
live,
look at
you know,
the
new growth
impacts
branches,
of.
whittle the ends, take the like
big
leaves off, instantly put it in like, you know, either nutrient water or soil that you water all the time. And then over the winter, you let it and then you incentivize the root growth
Semester.
and as the roots ready,
More than time.
that's when you plant it.
Talk
You
about
don't
it.
just go.
That's, I mean, it's another important thing that a lot of people.
I
don't
honestly
know
think that
about.
they
Yeah,
had
and
in another
it also
project,
affects our
they were gonna cut down like
Affects like
These computers, like
They're like,
theoretically, if you have.
what do we do with this? Well, I know. We can use it as a way to.
That's another direction I'm heading.
We're planting native trees.
Class.
But the, how lackadaisical and just
Could also do
not
something
caring
like
and like half-assed and stupid, like.
Simulate the best way to orientate the.
That could be
building
from
from you're expecting an area.
How to.
Well, like on the moon,
Willow trees.
Well, I know I've seen like
It any-
solar, like.
They actually,
on,
yeah, like, there is like,
do it in
like,
magnetic
there's
field
nothing.
and some
I
awesome.
mean, I don't know how they like.
space buildings that are.
You know, to weather to stabilize the stream bank, so let's get rid of all the deep roots.
So.
And what you've done, you will have stabilized banks in about
Those
20
data.
years. And
Technically.
we're like,
publicly
what? No, we need stabilization
It would
now,
just take
not in
tracking
20
down,
years when,
finding a right answer.
you know, all the plants are actually grown.
So like, if,
They're
I mean, if
actually-
we really do
that
want to
actually
get into
survive.
that planetary stuff.
But like,
let's go.
it's like,
I-
yes,
I've always been
stabilization.
curious and
Let's
never
start
really had
from
anybody to
scratch.
push me to.
And then just put a bunch of rocks.
Stabilize.
Yeah, and you know, Brentwood Bound has, you know, like, they